And it was a little bit higher, a little over $200 for the prop and everything that went with it, and thank God that I had it. I'm in about knee-deep water, just muddy as all get out, mud from my feet up to my knees, and mosquitoes are just eating me alive. But I'm over and I'm changing this prop. And like I said, I've never changed it before. I'm reading the directions, and it's getting to be around 4 o'clock, and it's cloudy and getting a little dark, and I'm freaking out. I really am. I'm thinking I've never done this crap before, and I'm hoping that I'm doing it right so I can at least get out of here. So I get it all changed and everything, and I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to push this boat off of the muddy shore that I was on, muddy bank? But I did. I got it pushed out and used my trolling motor to get away from the bank a little bit. Still, it was pretty shallow, 4, 5, 6 foot deep. But I headed straight for the channel in between the buoys. And not really knowing what the red meant and what the green meant and where I should be in it. Something I should have researched. I should have known before I ever got out there. And I know that I've probably read it before, but it just didn't register. It's funny how you learn a lesson when it actually happens to you. I learned real quick what those buoys are now. But I am going down the river now. I get out to the channel, I make a left-hand turn, and boy, the current's just taking me. I'm about 4 miles north of the lock, and I'm calling them, telling them that I'm moving now, and I'm ready to go, and it's getting late. It's 4:30, 5 o'clock. I get to the lock. And they tell me, they said, well, you're going to have to wait because we have the barge in front of you that passed you earlier. He's in here, and it's going to take him about 2 hours to get through the lock. And I don't understand why it took so long. He didn't have that many barges in front of him that he was pushing. And but he kept revving his motor up and letting it fall and revving it up and letting it fall. He did that for about an hour. I don't know if they was getting fuel or if they took a nap. I don't know what had happened, but it took him about 2 hours to get through this lock. Well, it's getting dark now, and by the time I got in the get ready to go on the lock, it's dark. I have my floodlights on. Luckily, there's tons of lights around the lock. But I'm asking them, where can I sleep? Do you know of some place I can sleep just past the lock? Like a little cove or a river that I can cut up into, or a marina? And they said, no, there's nothing down through there. But right after our lock, I mean, right when you come out of the lock doors, you make a quick U-turn and come back up, and there's a little cove right there. I said, okay. So, like I said, it's dark. I can make out that there's a patch of trees in the water. I come out of the lock, I make a right-hand turn, a hairpin curve, and I'm going up into this little cove. I'm not knowing what's on the other side. I don't know how big the cove is, I don't know how deep it is, anything like that. All I know is there's a narrow opening, and there's a little island of trees in the water. So I want to stay away from that. So I get through this little channel, and it's getting shallower. It went from 25 feet in the lock to 10 feet to when I was in the middle of this little canal, it went to 6 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet. Well, I'm at about 2 foot draft here. That's what I'm in the water. I figure a little over 2 feet. Well, it gets down to 3 feet. I'm raising my motor up. I don't have another prop. Don't have another insert that goes in the prop. But I get through, and I go in this little cove, and it's actually pretty decent. It's pretty huge. And it's just a little cove that goes underneath the highway, and I put a video out on it, and I was 25 yards from the lock, so if anything happened, I could swim to the lock. I mean, it was nice and calm. There was no current in it. Tons of fish. So it's dark now, and I'm trying to set my anchor in the dark, and I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous, a little frantic of everything that had happened that morning, and just trying to calm down. And I did. Went to bed. As I was going to bed, it sprinkled a little bit. I had a shower out on the front of the deck, and everything was calming down. Everything was good now, but still a little nervous about the river. Next morning comes, I eat breakfast, I square everything away, and I take off and going down the river. And I need some ice for my cooler. Even though the cooler's doing good, it's got plenty of ice in it, keeping everything cold, I know that I need some ice. So I researched the night before where all the marinas is and which one I can get into and where I can get ice and where a mechanic is so I could talk to him about the motor and all that. So I found one, and it was a little ways down the river, but I'm in the middle of the river. I'm staying as close to these red cans as I can. I don't know if they should be on the left or the right of me, but I'm staying pretty close to them. So, and I realized that I shouldn't cut off of the river and go on these little byways. I did the first day a couple of times, and if I knew then what I know now, I would have never done that because the water's so shallow. So I'm pretty much staying in the main channel of the Mississippi. Well, I'm calling this marina and telling them that I'm on my way, and they're telling me how to get into it, and they said the water's really swift, and they just have a small little opening, and if I wasn't careful, I'd miss it. So as I'm going down the river too, I never let go of my steering wheel, and I can stand up right beside it, but I never let go of it because the water was so violent it would move you around. And there's so many trees and driftwood floating down the river. I mean, I tried my best to stay away from them so I wouldn't hit them. So that's why I always had my hand on the steering wheel. As I'm going down, I have Novonics on my iPad. And it's not a bought version because they said that a bought-in version wouldn't work on my iPad because it's not phone capable. Which I found out that later it is phone capable because I did a face-to-face time with my wife on it, and yeah, so I can use it like a phone. I just can't dial out on it. But I should have bought the app, the Novonics app. But I used the free app, and it tracked my place in the river and showed me how many miles I was going and what speed I was going and all of that. So I was using it and following it to look for this marina. And she was right. The opening was so small, and it was actually behind an island. So I'm on the phone with her, telling her what I see and everything, and she says I already passed it, but I didn't pass it by much. So I'm going around this island. I'm coming back around, going up current, not far, 100 yards, and I see a little bitty opening. So I shoot in it, and that's where the marina is. Now the marina, it had gas, it had pump out, it had ice, and it had a mechanic, had several boats in it, but it wasn't a good place to sleep. They didn't have any place for transients to sleep at. So I get my ice, and I'm talking to the mechanic, and I'm telling him I spun a prop earlier, and that there's a plastic sleeve that went in it, and I wondered if he had any more, and he did. He had two of them for $22 a piece. I wish I had one here, but it's just a little plastic sleeve about that long that fits over your shaft, and then you put your propeller on, and it's really fairly easy. But I bought two of them in case I hit something again and spun it again. The first prop that I had on there, it had all the shafts and everything was pressed into it, so I'm not able to use that that propeller until I get everything pressed back into it, which I'm going to check on. But the second one, it's a Black Max, and it's made for replacing the insides of it, which is super cool because if I spin it again, all I got to do is replace the plastic insert on it. So he had two of those. I bought two of them, $22 a piece, lifesaver. Got my ice. The lady that was in the marina suggested that I get a towboat insurance. Check on it. It wasn't that high. So I called, and it was $72 a year to get towboat I guess, insurance where they'll tow your boat if anything happens. And if they don't have a boat in the vicinity, they'll find somebody there that will tow you, and you just pay for it out of your pocket, up to $2,500, and then they'll reimburse you up to $2,500. And the first time when I had called the lock, when I got stuck on the sandbar, they said it was going to be like $3,000 to tow me a mile. And that's ridiculous. It shouldn't cost that much. But anyhow, I called on it. She said it was $72 a year, asked me a ton of questions. And she said since I used to be a member of Boat US, she'd give me a discount on it. And since I was a veteran, so it only came up to $58, which I thought, heck yes, let's do that. It could save me thousands of dollars. So I bought that and everything and got my ice, got calmed down a little bit again, and took off. This is the second day, and I wanted to make it through St. Louis. Let's see. It was still the second day, but I was still on the first leg of the trip. And I didn't end that trip until I got to Portage de Sioux, Missouri, which is coming up. So I leave that marina where I got the ice, and I'm going down the river. I'm getting ready to pass the Illinois River, and then once I pass the Illinois River, it's fairly wide right there, and I've already called ahead to a marina, this Portage de Sioux, Sioux Harbor is what it is, and I told them I was coming and I would like to spend the night there because we were supposed to get rain showers that night, storms, and they told me where to go and where to come. They said don't cut behind the island because it's really shallow. Go in front of the island and then come back up around. I have to back up though. When I was at the marina where I got the ice and the parts, I asked that lady, I said, tell me about the buoys, the red and the green buoys. Where am I supposed to be? And her and the mechanic looked at each other like, oh my God, I can't believe he asked this question. Well, I did. They both said, always, 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 when you're heading south down the river, leave that red buoy on your left side, your port side. I will repeat it. When you're going south down the river, you leave the red buoy on your left, on your port side, always. When you're coming upriver, you always leave the right buoy on your right. You're supposed to stay between the red buoy and the green buoy. Now, not all the time you can see the red buoy. Not all the time you can see the green buoy. Right? That's where I watched the tows, the pusher boats, where they was at. And I kind of stayed behind them or in front of them. But yeah, when the river's flooded, those buoys would be pushed down by big old logs and limbs, and you'll never see them. And there's a lot of the times I never knew where the channel was. And I'd always been told that if one of those buoys breaks loose and comes up, because the top of them is like, it goes to a point. So if one of those was to break loose and hit the bottom of your boat, it would put a hole right in the bottom of your boat and you'd be done. Luckily, the river's only 20 feet deep, 17 feet deep. So anyhow, I left that marina. They told me where to stay within the buoys. I go down, I'm passing the Illinois River, getting ready to come up on the Missouri River.